Welcome, listeners, to the African American Health Series. Today's subject is entitled, Is the Black Man an Endangered Species? While there are many levels where one can make a good argument that the black man is grappling for survival in terms of, and not limited to, economics, social welfare, culture, disintegration of the family, black on black violence, and etc. My mission is to focus on the matter from a health perspective. Indeed, when one looks at the statistics with respect to African American health, it's clear that the road ahead is filled with daunting challenges. For example, according to a study conducted by the National Cancer Institute, African American women are more likely to die from breast cancer than Caucasian women, although Caucasian women contract the disease at a much higher rate. According to the Center for Disease Control, although the top 3 causes and 7 of the 10 leading causes of death are the same for non-Hispanic blacks and non-Hispanic whites, the risk factors and incidence, morbidity, and mortality rates for these diseases and injuries often are greater among blacks than whites. If these other demographics are affected in equal proportion, why are African Americans more likely to die? Cancer is the second leading cause of death for both non-Hispanic blacks and non-Hispanic whites. A 1999 report concluded that African Americans were 30% more likely to die from cancer than whites. Further, in 2001, the age-adjusted incidence per 100,000 was substantially higher for black females than for white females for certain cancers, including colorectal, pancreatic, and cancers of the stomach. Among males, the age-adjusted incidence was higher for black males than for white males for certain cancers, including prostate, lung, bronchus, colorectal, and cancers of the stomach. Stroke is the third leading cause of death for both non-Hispanic blacks and non-Hispanic whites. Hypertension is a major risk factor for stroke, and females aged 20 through 74 years had higher age-adjusted rates per 100,000 of hypertension than their white counterparts. With regard to life expectancy and death rates, at birth, the average life expectancy for African Americans is 71.8 years compared to 77.4 years for whites. Life expectancy at birth for black males is 68.3 years compared to 74.8 years for white males. Life expectancy at birth for black females was 75 years compared with 80 years for white females. Almost 282,000 African Americans died in the year 2000. The age-adjusted death rate for black people was 30% higher than for non-Hispanic whites. In 1999, 11,927 African Americans died from diabetes, which is the 6th leading cause of death for this population. The African American death rate due to diabetes was more than twice that for whites. Also, there are a number of dubious secondary complications from diabetes, which include kidney disease, blindness, and amputations. In 1999, 78,574 African Americans died from heart disease, the leading cause of death for all racial and ethnic groups. African Americans were 30% more likely to die of heart disease than whites. In 1999, 1,884 African Americans died from stroke. which is the third leading cause of death for all racial and ethnic groups. African Americans were 40% more likely to die of stroke than whites. Homicide, which is a health issue, although it's a morbid way of looking at health. In 1999, 7,648 African Americans died from homicide, which is the eighth leading cause of death for this population. African Americans were 5.4 times as likely as whites to die from homicide. Autoimmune disease disparities. Lupus is a very serious autoimmune disease which can affect organs and tissues, both internal and external tissues. While people of all races can develop lupus, African American women have a 3 times higher incidence and mortality rate than white women. They tend to develop the disease at a younger age than white women and to develop more serious complications. African Americans have a higher risk of bilateral radiographic knee osteoarthritis and hip osteoarthritis than Caucasians. Obesity is associated with bilateral knee and hip osteoarthritis and is a more important risk factor for bilateral knee osteoarthritis in African Americans than in Caucasians. Osteoarthritis is also known as degenerative joint disease, whereby the surface between two joints begins to decrease, and eventually, if measures aren't taken, the cartilage can completely wear away, and one will end up with bone touching bone, which is a very serious problem, as well as a very painful condition, oftentimes leading to hip replacement and knee replacement surgery. To continue, African Americans seem to be more prone to develop several types of systemic inflammatory disorders, including sepsis,